Let's get right into it. Number 9. Sudden adult death syndrome. You know what's worse than getting older? Suddenly, not. Sudden adult death syndrome, yes, that's the actual name, is when someone under 40, perfectly healthy, just drops dead for no apparent reason. No signs, no warning, no satisfying CSI episode to explain it. 1 minute you're sipping coffee, the next you're cosmically unfriended. Most victims are found to have no obvious heart problems, and many had normal checkups weeks before. The body just gives up. And while doctors suspect it might be due to cardiac arrhythmias, like your heart deciding to tap out mid-beat, there's often no solid proof. Even autopsies can come up empty-handed, which is honestly a little insulting. Like, if you're going to take me out early, at least have the decency to leave a reason. Some researchers link it to a gene mutation. Others think it might be caused by stress, or even by an overstimulated vagus nerve. You know, the one that makes you faint when you stand up too fast. But no one agrees on why it happens or who it's gunning for next. Basically, your body has a self-destruct button. Science just hasn't found it yet. Number 8. Space roar. Here's a sentence no one asked for. Space is loud. Not in the traditional way, because there's no air for sound waves to travel through. But radio astronomers once pointed their fancy equipment into the vast nothingness and heard, wait for it, a roaring sound, like static dialed up to screaming portal to hell. NASA scientists, thinking it was just background noise, tried filtering it out. But no matter what they did, the roar remained. And it wasn't just there. It was 6 times louder than any known source of radio waves in the universe. That's like turning on your white noise machine and discovering it's actually picking up God's garbage disposal. They tried blaming stars, galaxies, dust, even leftover radiation from the Big Bang. Nope. None of it matched. The signal was strong, uniform, and totally unexplained. So somewhere out there, the universe is blaring a cosmic death metal solo, and Earth just tuned into it by accident. Cool. Number 7. Morgellons Disease. You ever get an itch so deep you start to question reality? Imagine that, but forever, with the added bonus of mysterious fibers crawling out of your skin. Welcome to Morgellons Disease, the nightmare that doctors argue might not even be real. Patients report sensations of bugs crawling under their skin, burning sores, and, here's the kicker, multicolored threads emerging from their wounds. It sounds like a horror movie written by a bored spider. The fibers don't match clothing or environment and seem to literally grow out of the skin. But here's where it gets complicated. Dermatologists often diagnose these cases as delusional parasitosis, meaning the patient is imagining it. No bugs, no fibers, just a stressed-out brain on a sensory rampage. Except, independent labs have examined the fibers and sometimes find stuff like cellulose, keratin, or even weird synthetic compounds. So either thousands of people are experiencing the same exact hallucination with physical evidence, or there's a disease out there that makes you grow nightmare threads like you're part human, part cursed sewing kit. Neat. Number 6. Quantum consciousness. Okay, get ready to deep dive into brain soup. Some scientists, and by some, I mean a bold, controversial few, think your consciousness might not just be a byproduct of neurons firing like party poppers. No, they suggest it could be powered by quantum mechanics. Yeah, the same physics that lets particles exist in 2 places at once might also explain why you have inner monologues and existential dread. This idea is called orchestrated objective reduction, OR, and it comes from anesthesiologist Stuart Hameroff and legendary physicist Roger Penrose. They propose that consciousness arises from tiny structures in your brain cells called microtubules, which, under the right conditions, may perform quantum computations. That means your thoughts might involve particles popping in and out of existence, entangling across dimensions and generally doing things that make regular physics cry in a corner. The problem? We have zero solid evidence this happens. Most neuroscientists think OR is pseudoscientific mumbo-jumbo in a fancy lab coat. They argue that brains are way too warm and wet for delicate quantum states to survive without falling apart like a microwave soufflé. Still, we can't explain why consciousness exists in the first place. Why are you a self-aware meat puppet instead of just a reflex machine? Why do you dream? Why do you remember that one awkward text from 2012 at 3 a.m.? Until we crack that code, quantum consciousness stays on the table, floating like Schrodinger's cat. That knows it's in the box. Number 5. The placebo effect, gone rogue. You know what's wild? Your brain can heal your body with lies, like literal sugar pills. That's the placebo effect. You believe something's working, and suddenly it does. Pain fades, symptoms vanish, life improves, despite the treatment doing absolutely nothing. Doctors have used this effect for centuries, often unintentionally. But here's the kicker. We still don't fully understand how it works. Sure, some studies show that belief triggers dopamine release, endorphins, and even immune responses. But that's like saying, it works because magic chemicals did a good job. Not exactly satisfying. Even weirder? Open-label placebos, where patients know they're taking a fake pill, sometimes still work. That's like watching a magician reveal their trick and still being amazed when the rabbit disappears. And then there's the nocebo effect, the evil twin of placebo. If you believe something will harm you, your brain can make that happen too. You might experience headaches, nausea, even heart problems, all because your mind decided, hey, let's make this awful for no reason. In other words, your brain is that chaotic friend who can ruin or rescue your weekend depending on the vibes. So next time someone tells you it's all in your head, yeah, it probably is. And that's both comforting and terrifying. Number 4. Ball lightning. Imagine a glowing ball of electricity the size of a grapefruit floating through your living room like it's casually looking for snacks. That's ball lightning, a bizarre weather phenomenon that's been reported for centuries, and still makes scientists shrug like, yeah, we have no clue either. Witnesses describe it as a hovering, spinning sphere of light that sometimes explodes, sometimes vanishes, and sometimes floats through walls like it owns the place. Sounds fake, right? Except hundreds of credible people, including pilots, physicists, and military officers, have all seen it. One story from the 1800s tells of a glowing orb bouncing down a ship's mast before exploding and killing a crew member. Others talk about it hovering mid-air in thunderstorms, sizzling like electric soda bubbles. We've tried recreating it in labs, and some experiments using microwaves and plasma have come close. But those results are inconsistent, short-lived, and can't explain all the real-world sightings. Is it a plasma bubble? A hallucination triggered by electromagnetic fields? A mini black hole that got lost on the way to its doom dimension? No one knows. All we have are weird eyewitness accounts and a collective sense of, okay, but why? Basically, Mother Nature occasionally throws in cheat codes just to keep things spicy. Number 3, the hum. Imagine lying in bed at 2 a.m., the world dead silent, except for a low, droning hum. Not a truck, not your fridge, not your neighbor's extremely rude midnight tuba practice. No, this is the hum. A mysterious, low-frequency noise reported all over the world, from the UK to New Mexico, that nobody can fully explain. It's like your ears are picking up a radio station from the Twilight Zone. Some people hear it constantly, some say it ruins their lives, and some, most people actually, don't hear it at all. That's part of the madness. It's like your ears are in a secret club, but instead of secret knowledge, the club offers endless mental torture. Scientists have tried blaming everything from distant factory machines to jet stream turbulence to, I kid you not, mating fish. Yes, fish. Because apparently a lonely sea bass can shake the foundations of human sanity. But none of those fully explain why the hum is only heard by about 2% of people in any given area, why it's more common in rural zones, or why it sometimes just disappears. Is it a sonic hallucination? A psychological manifestation of stress? Or is Earth just humming its own creepy bedtime song? Science has no idea. But don't worry. If you can't hear it, that just means your brain hasn't been chosen yet. Sleep tight. Number 2. The death flash. Here's a fun one. And by fun, I mean absolutely nightmare-inducing. Some scientists believe that just before death, the human brain experiences a final surge of activity, like a last-ditch rave before the lights go out. They call it the death flash. Imagine your consciousness going full IMAX mode in the final 30 seconds. Intense memories, vivid dreams, spiritual awakenings, or an endless psychological loop of that one time you embarrassed yourself at karaoke in 2013. Studies on rats in 2013 showed a massive increase in brain activity moments after cardiac arrest. Like crazy amounts. More than during normal waking life. The brain just lights up like a Christmas tree on Red Bull. Scientists think this could be your brain's last attempt to piece together some meaning, or maybe it's just dumping the entire photo album into your frontal lobe. But here's where it gets spooky. Some people who've been clinically dead and revived, yes, the brought back from the brink crowd, report eerily similar things. Floating sensations, life reviews, overwhelming peace, or in one case, watching doctors work on their body from across the room like a bored ghost. Is it proof of the soul, a chemical goodbye party, or just your neurons misfiring one last symphony before the curtain drops? We don't know. But if you start seeing a light at the end of the tunnel, maybe don't walk toward it just yet. Number 1, the hard problem of consciousness. Let's wrap things up with the ultimate brain buster. Literally. The hard problem of consciousness is the question, why does your brain feel like anything at all? Like, we know the brain processes data. Light hits your eyes, sound hits your ears, all that jazz. But why does it result in a rich, subjective experience? Why does red feel red? Why do we experience music, love, shame, hunger, or déjà vu, instead of just reacting like robots? We can map neurons. We can predict behavior. But we can't explain why you're in there, observing all of it. It's called the hard problem, because even with all our science, AI, and fMRI scanners that can see you thinking about sandwiches in real time, we still don't have a clue what consciousness is, or why it exists. Some say it's an illusion, like your brain pretending it has a theater inside it. Others suggest consciousness is fundamental to the universe, like time or gravity. Yeah, it might be a basic ingredient of reality, which means your inner monologue, the one narrating your life, cringing at past mistakes, overanalyzing texts, is either a biological fluke or the literal universe trying to understand itself through a meat puppet. Either way, science is stumped. And until someone figures it out, your brain remains the most confusing, sarcastic, emotionally unstable detective in existence. That's all for today. I'll be making similar videos in the future. Subscribe to see them.